see you here in the Miracle Worker. Welcome to this meeting. Welcome to this incredible gathering. In fact, it's a totally incredible gathering, very unique in its sorts, where we look at chapters of A Course in Miracles, and instead of taking our time to go through one, we go through three, and taking time for that. That's amazing. So it's not as much an accomplishment as that it is great to see, an overview of the chapters and see how they evolve, but also how they are in fact sharing with us the same message, sharing the same goal, sharing the same wisdom, coming from the same source, and recognizing that is just everything. That's so great. That's so great. So it's like a great honor to do this. And this is what I experience and when I prepare this, but also like spending the whole day with Jesus in A Course in Miracles today, with preparing for a 40-day healing intensive online. This is just totally amazing. I can tell you that. It's like, wow, it is so beautiful to go through the chapters, to let these chapters speak to you, to discover, like, wow, never ever read this sentence. I ran through this many times and never saw this sentence. I could never hear it like I do now. So that it's like, because it is alive, it's coming from a creative source, and that is like, whenever you are opening this up, it is a new book. It is like you have never read anything before. Now here your ears are opening. Here you can listen. Here you can discover, and it's more and it's more and it's more. So it's so lovely to have this relationship, you could say, with the one who is leading you out of your construct that you're simply not able to do yourself. You cannot help yourself. So to have one who is actually holding your hand and leading you out in your speed, in your pace, in as fast as you can, to get you out of a construct that has hurt you, is just amazingly, just an incredible gift. For one reason, it is like the patience that is in fact demonstrated, to see, like, yes, I understand, it takes time, yes, it's all right. And here are miracles. Time collapses. You're finding yourself in a different time altogether, without effort. Suddenly something falls away that you had no idea you were holding on to. Now this is what I mean too. It's like there's a progression, there's a collapse of time, there's a celestial speed up going on, an heavenly speed up, because it's like this is made for you to recognize where you truly abide. This is not an accomplishment. So it's like, this is the recognition where you truly abide. And that is the place where you truly are already right now as we speak. It's like, why would you want to linger in a place that is over and gone? Why would you want to make something work here while it will never work? And this is not where you are. So, and this is what you discover in the chapters more and more. It's like we'll come to the place where we start to see we're actually looking back. We're actually looking back at how our resurrection came about. It is accomplished. He is risen. And especially today, when I'm looking at expressions like what I did as a preparation for the intensive, like looking at expressions related to the idea of beyond the body, you come to resurrection as an thing that is happening in you continuously, as like you start to remember that that's actually the case. And like I said, it's not an accomplishment, it's more like a reactive remembering of where you truly are, and the rest can go. No, there's no need to understand this. No, there's no need to figure it out. Yes, there's an absolute necessity to look at what you're doing and to stop doing that. That's for sure. It's like, yeah, no, you don't have to do what you think you need to do. No, you don't have to adapt. No, you don't have to compromise. No, you don't have to do all these things. Now, you can imagine if you would give up one, you would doubt about the next one, or vice versa. So it's like to have a systematic support is incredible. Now, this is where the chapters are for, this is where the lessons are for, and even where the manual for teachers is for. The manual for teachers really helping you to, in fact, see through what process you are going in your development of becoming, say, a teacher of God, but becoming a teacher of God in the sense of that is already accomplished. So now you recognize the one that you are and want to demonstrate that, because all else disappears. So that is really lovely. Now we are going to go into the chapters, and I'll read the titles, like chapter 22 to 24 we do today. And chapter 22 is salvation and the holy relationship. And chapter 23 is the war against yourself. And chapter 24 is the goal of specialness. So in other words, that's great stuff. Like the salvation and the holy relationship is where we start off with, and then the war against yourself. And then the goal of specialness. Why do you use specialness for? Why doesn't everything needs to be so particular? So very, very particular. Why do you think there needs to be so much, say, sorting out of levels and of degrees and of this and that? Like, to specify everything is to make it special. Now, how does equality work with this? If something is equal, what can be the difference? This is in fact the upside down thinking of ego mind and Christ mind. Christ mind is based on the idea of equality. It is the demonstration of oneness. And the ego mind is the demonstration of chaos and of split-mindedness, of degrees and laws and impossibilities and conflict and guilt and all these things that are very familiar to you as a human being. And one special person or two special persons or one special family or who knows what, and so on and on. So we will take a look at that. So sit back, relax, and let this come to you, or sit on the edge of your seat and just try to stay open to let come whatever comes to you. Like in the end, this is a vibratory exposure, you could say. So it's like you choose to be exposed to light that has nothing to do with this world. It's literally coming from out of time. And this is what you see that it will do with you. So if you try to bring it back to your understanding, you in fact like lower the frequency almost to get a human sense of understanding. But when you just allow yourself to be exposed to it, it is really like a frequency that enters into your whole idea about yourself. Reasonless defense is what the name that came to me to as like a summary of the 3 chapters. There's the war against yourself, there's a discovery of what reason is, and this is a reasonless defense that you do. It doesn't make sense what you do as a defense against God or specialness, but yeah, this would cover it. Okay, so here we step right into chapter 22. Take pity on yourself, so long enslaved. Rejoice, whom God hath joined, have come together, and need no longer look on sin apart. No two can look on sin together, for they could never see it in the same place and time. Sin is a strictly individual perception, seen in the other, yet believed by each to be within himself. And each one seems to make a different error, and one the other cannot understand. Brother, it is the same, made by the same, and forgiven for its maker in the same way. The holiness of your relationship forgives you and your brother. The holiness of your relationship forgives you and your brother, undoing the effects of what you both believed and saw. And with their going is the need for sin gone with them. Now here, this is interesting, of course. So sin, what is sin? So sin, you could say, like, I'll show the sheet in a moment, but sin, you can say, like, is my belief in time. It's like something happens in time and I have to deal with others, and it's literally like what you do in time, because that is always so individual. Like you're here in your own belief system, in your own world, in your own time. And that's why if you would share your concerns about a conflict, you would not see that the same way as your brother, for instance. You would not see that. So there's differences. You saw that, I saw this, but I saw it from my perspective and I'm right. And you see it from your perspective and you're right. Now what? See, that's in fact the impossibility of the human conflict, because you're right. You're both right. Now what? It doesn't make you happy, so you go and defend yourself and you go and attack your brother or whatever, however you do that, but it will never be clear. It will never resolve in that sense. There can be a compromise made, but that still doesn't take away the tendency to attack. So here is in fact immediately, like, the resolution to this is forgiveness. Forgiveness means, in fact, forgetting the conflict, because it's literally unsolvable. You forget it, you let it go. Recognizing that your joining with your brother is the only thing that you really truly want, and recognizing that you are one with him would make this a relationship, a holy relationship. Now, where is conflict? Where is my idea about being right? It just has no place to be. But the feeling of equality, the feeling of oneness, the feeling of this letting go of my position, of my right, gives, like, it literally opens up a shared experience of happiness. This is very simplistically shared, but in fact it comes down to it. Rejoice, whom God has joined, have come together, and need no longer look on sin apart. No two can look on sin together, for they could never see it in the same place and time. Sin is a strictly individual perception, seen in the other, yet believed by each to be within himself. And each one seems to make a different error, and one the other cannot understand. Yeah, this is very basic human conflict. And so the holiness of your relationship forgives you and your brother, undoing the effects of what you both believed and saw. Now that is a really beautiful practice. It's like you will discover that in your that's a possibility. It's like there's literally no other way to come out of this situation and be free of it. You'll have to let go. Of course you're right. Of course your brother is right too. But you don't see that, and you don't meet in the same place when you try to oppose your idea of right. Like the other cannot see it. So here it is then let go, forgive, and come. And this is not easy, sure, you need help with that, because you don't want to give up what you see as right. But here's your decision that you say, like, okay, I'd rather be happy than be right. At a certain point you come to that conclusion, hopefully very fast. That saves a lot of trouble, of course. Once you come to the act of forgiveness and take that as a necessary step, it's like, I don't want to be in conflict with my brother. And it's not that I can prevent it. No, suddenly I find myself in conflict, but my natural tendency now is to let go. And recognizing there is no problem, there is no solution to this problem, because the place where I perceive this problem isn't real. It is, I cannot meet my brother in the same place in my observation of the situation. I literally am in a different time and place than my brother. And that's reasonable. Like, your brother is in a different time than you are. Now, you seem to be in the same conflict or in the same position, in the same time and space, but that's an illusion. That's really not true. You will see that. So recognizing that, it becomes easier to let go. But more of that later, so we'll continue. So, like I said, forgiveness is then suddenly you give up your conflict. You recognize your brother as yourself. You recognize that you share a source together that created you. So your brother must be just as lovely as you are. You just forgot that for a moment, thinking that your opinions or thinking that your statements are more important than the love you recognize your brother to be. So that when you recognize the loveliness of your brother, then you can say, like, you recognize that you're from the same source, that literally you're an effect of God, so is your brother. That recognition is called a holy relationship. A holy relationship starts from a different premise. Each one has looked within and seen no lack. Yeah? Accepting his completion, he would extend it by joining with another, whole as himself. He sees no difference between these selves, for differences are only of the body. Therefore he looks on nothing he would take. He denies not his own reality because it is the truth. Just under heaven does he stand, but close enough not to return to earth. For this relationship has heaven's holiness. How far from home can a relationship so like to heaven be? See, that's a very lovely statement. A very lovely description of your holy relationship. Each one has looked within, not without, not outside of you. No, you look within and you see no lack. Like there's a completion, there's an abundance, there's a wholeness there and nothing else. And that immediately extends to everyone. And you want to join. When you feel that, you automatically start to expand and join with your brother. Oh, sorry. He sees no differences between these selves, for differences are only of the body. Now you see already, this is such a beautiful thing. It's like suddenly you find yourself in an experience, and an experience that has in fact nothing to do anymore with seeing your brother as a body, as somebody, an object outside of yourself. No, you have looked within and recognized your wholeness, in fact. Nothing is lacking, everything is here. There's nothing going on that takes that away. Now, when I recognize that, I receive grace, because it's like now I can experience myself fully. And the only tendency of a whole mind is to give itself away, to recognize yourself in everyone, to see in everyone your best friend. And that is, see, you don't have to try to do that, but it's more like, well, go take a good look within. Don't be afraid to go and take a good look within and see what happens when you do that, and stay with that. And yeah, receive what is given and be open to receive that by trying to maybe to start saying thank you God, or start saying I love you God, thank you. See, these are just basic, you could say basic instructions, but it's like the Holy Spirit, God enters into a grateful mind easily. This is the whole thing. It's like here, yes, thank you. See, and then it becomes easier to recognize your brother as whole, since you experience this wholeness within yourself. And you start to see that there's nothing lacking, and that the situations that you're in is like come in a whole different perspective by recognizing yourself within you as not lacking anything. In other words, you don't have to look outside to get something. So if you see that yourself is complete, then you don't need to look for anything outside yourself. Now, that doesn't mean that your brother suddenly is gone. No, now you can join with him. It is not like, yeah, I don't need you any longer because I don't see a need. Nay. No. It's like, now I can recognize my brother as part of me. It's like one with me. That's the difference. The ego would say, like, okay, so you don't need your brother. We got it all covered. Like, forget about your brother. Now we can do this ourselves. And it's like, no. You missed the most important part, is that in your recognition of your wholeness, you recognize your brother as one with you too. And that's an unworldly experience. You could say that's what it says here too. It's like it's an experience that is in heaven. You recognize your brother as one with you. It's an heavenly experience. Think what a holy relationship can teach. Here's the belief in differences undone. Finally. Here's the faith in differences shifted to sameness. Finally. So in other words, comparisons are out of the door, because there are no differences to be seen. So it's like, you don't have to analyze the situation. You don't have to look for differences. You don't have to compare. You don't have to do all these things that you normally do with your human mind. You can just let that go. So now that is going to give you a lot of energy in a certain sense, because you wasted a lot on doing so. So here that comes all back to you. You recognize your wholeness and completedness. What happens is that you in fact feel more energy. You feel more inspiration. You feel more energy because you're literally getting your energy from your own source. You don't need to get it from anywhere. It is within you. It's given to you. So reason now can lead you and your brother to the logical conclusion of your union. It must extend as you extended when you joined. It must reach out beyond itself as you reached out beyond the body, to let yourselves be joined. And now the sameness that you saw extends and finally removes all sense of differences, so that the sameness that lies beneath them all becomes apparent. Here is the golden circle where you recognize the Son of God. For what is born into a holy relationship can never end. See, this is the golden circle. It's like it's below the level of perception. It's below the level of differences of bodies outside yourself. No, this is happening within you. This golden circle is in fact the circle of atonement. Is where everything is recognized as one. Truth is the opposite of illusions because it offers joy. Illusions don't offer joy. And joy is literally like the energy of expansion, of being moved, of ecstasy, you could say, of a deep sense of happiness, and not even with a reason, but just as a state of being itself. What else but joy could be the opposite of misery? To leave one kind of misery and seek another is hardly an escape. This is what you've tried as a human being, of course. So it's like, well, this person I'm with, it's just one big mistake. I should go and look for another one, forgetting that you take all your misery with you. And yeah, so you exchange misery, illusions. If I had a different house, I would be happy. If I would have this or that, then I would be happy. So it's all like conditional, looking for joy and happiness in a way that it can never be found. All that is possible in the dark world of misery is to select some aspects out of it, see them as different, and define the difference as joy. Now, this is an interesting mechanism here. Look at this. All that is possible in the dark world of misery is to select some aspects out of it, see them as different, and define the difference as joy. Yet to perceive a difference where none exists will surely fail to make a difference. See, this is like a screaming advertisement for something that you're looking at. So for something that you're missing. It's like there are 3 aspects out of it, or 2 aspects out of it, that really is exactly your pain point, and where you feel so miserable. And here is the offering of 2 of these aspects that are going to be taken away. If you get this, then you're saved. Like, this is the human way of problem solving, or looking for your own problem solving. Thinking that if you see that image, that is exactly what you need at that point. It's shining, it's welcoming you and saying like, yes, here I am, go take me. And it's not working. It's only for one instant of temporary relief that you recognize, oh, my misery is now gone. To recognize the next day, oh my God, I'm still in the middle of it. I did take it with me. It isn't resolved at all. So this is reasonable. To perceive a difference when none exists will surely fail to make a difference, right? Yeah, you can easily admit that. Reason will tell you that the only way to escape from misery is to recognize it and go the other way. Reason will tell you that the only way to escape from misery is to recognize it and go the other way. Not trying to replace it, not trying to do anything else with it, but recognizing it for what it is and walking the other way. Truth is the same and misery is the same, but they are different from each other in every way, in every instance, and without exception. To believe that one exception can exist is to confuse what is the same with what is different. To believe that one exception can exist is to confuse that what is the same with what is different. And this is the thing, that your mind is, like your human way of thinking, is so very capable of finding one exception. To give you an example, because that's always easier. It says in the beginning of A Course in Miracles 2, one exception held apart from true perception makes its accomplishments anywhere impossible. And this you could say, like, you can love all your brothers. You can love all your brothers. Now imagine there's one that is really annoying you, that you cannot forgive and seems to be returning back into your memory all the time, always the same one, and it's like, wow. Now exactly this one idea that you hold on to is in fact the one that is making it impossible for you to perceive truly. In other words, you still are holding on to misery. You don't allow your mind to become whole, but you have this one that cannot enter heaven because of your good reasons. Now, up to the point that you forgive that, everything shifts and changes. And it's like, there's one exception. One exception, and you feel miserable. You lose your peace. And that's why you maybe even become more angry or more clear in that this one is doing that to you. So this is the whole thing, and that is still like in a special setup. Now here, if I come to the recognition that I'm in need of nothing, like literally I cannot discover any lack within me, then I also am not looking for anything outside of me to complete me. If I'm in this experience of my withinness, recognizing the wholeness that is within me, then this one issue that I have been walking around with can dissolve, and I return back into true perception. So that is how that goes. It's like you need to sometimes see it, what you're doing. So there's no exceptions, not in any situation. This always works. If you want to stay out of misery, you could say, if you want to be in a peaceful experience of yourself, don't make any exceptions, like include everything in. You don't need any of it if you recognize your completedness within you. One illusion cherished and defended against the truth makes all truth meaningless and all illusions real. Such is the power of belief. It cannot compromise, and faith in innocence is faith in sin. If the belief excludes one living thing and holds it out apart from its forgiveness. So, say this one more time. One illusion cherished and defended against truth makes all truth meaningless and all illusions real. Such is the power of belief. It cannot compromise. And faith in innocence is faith in sin. If the belief excludes one living thing and holds it out apart from its forgiveness. It's like then you lose the way. You can say you lose the way. So you're in fact in illusion. You cannot see innocence then. When you come to the place where the branch in the road is quite apparent, you cannot go ahead. You must go either one way or the other. For now, if you go ahead the way you went before you reach the branch, you will go nowhere. The whole purpose of coming this far, as you are right now in this discovery that you're doing, like the whole purpose of coming this far was to decide which branch you will take now. The way you came no longer matters. It can no longer serve. No one who reaches this far can make the wrong decision, although he can delay. And there is no part of the journey that seems more hopeless and futile than standing where the road branches and not deciding on which way to go. Now that's a branch, like that's a fork in the road, you can say. That's a fork in the road. Like you have come this far. You have come this far already. You have discovered, you're in the discovery of the path that you're walking. And now you've come to a fork in the road. Like, okay, that's the old way. That's the new way. Am I going to see everything anew? Or am I trying to combine the two, or going the old way, or just for now, just because for no reason? In fact, it's like, are you delaying the road that you're actually on? This is what this is about. It's like, are you in fact, the question is, are you starting to demonstrate or teach what you have received for yourself? Are you starting to demonstrate that by action of mind, by choice, by your dedication to it? Can you stay with the idea that nothing is lacking within you, that you literally need nothing from outside to complete yourself? So now you can be present in the world, but recognizing your wholeness within you. And are you willing to go along that road now, since you're already on it? You have heard this and you have recognized this. Or are you trying your old ways again? Or are you not deciding and waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting, and considering, and maybe like this? Like this is inevitable in your awakening. There comes a point where you actually feel like, oh my God, I'm actually on the road. It's actually working. And I don't have to use my old ways anymore. I let them go. There will be a moment where that becomes very apparent. Well, let that moment be now. Since you have heard enough, you have sufficient experience already by recognizing the truth in what is being shared and what you have discovered in yourself. Is there something lacking within you? Did you actually take a good look within you? Like, are you connecting with what is within? Are you connecting with the kingdom that is within you? When you do, you recognize there is no lack. And where would that lack come from? If this moment is whole and perfect, what can possibly be lacking? Only your ideas of lacking, of your ideas of that there's something else that can complete you, would be tempting you. So, and we say this, you just heard that too in the, like there's the golden circle within you where, say below the level of body of perception, there's a circle of light, a circle of golden circle where you enter into, in fact. Do you want to give that up to be in a world of differences and all this? It's like, no, of course not. You say, no, of course not. So then it's like, okay, then there's the decision to follow the road that is given you. Forget how you came here, but now you are stepping forward and staying with that. Staying in the remembrance that literally everything is given you and that there's nothing lacking within you. Because I also want to have time for chapter 24. All right, so nothing, this is continuing where we left off, in fact, in chapter 22. Nothing around you, but is part of you. Look on it lovingly and see the light of heaven in it. So you will come to understand all that is given you. In kind forgiveness will the world sparkle and shine, and everything you once thought sinful now will be reinterpreted as part of heaven. I start to see my best friend in everyone. How beautiful it is to walk clean and redeemed and happy through a world in bitter need of redemption that your innocence bestows upon it. What can you value more than this? For here is your salvation and your freedom, and it must be complete if you would recognize it. How beautiful it is to walk clean and redeemed and happy through a world in bitter need of redemption that your innocence bestows upon it. What can you value more than this? For here is your salvation and your freedom, and it must be complete if you would recognize it. See, this is the fulfillment, you could say, this is the fulfillment we're talking about. Recognizing that this in yourself, you're recognizing your own innocence. What would that be to forgive? That's another question. Like, what would that be to forgive if you stay? Yeah, this I'm going to get out because it's like you see this, like as long as you can stay below the level of perception of separate bodies and all this, but in a recognition of your oneness with your brother, recognizing that you share the common source, like the same source. And this source is what love is. And you're an extension of that, just as your brother is. There's no exception. There's no exception. So that is beautiful. Now, you start in everyone to see your best friend. Why would you give that idea up? Why would you not see that? Like, what is wrong with that? Nothing. It is different than what you did as a human being. But you recognizing in everyone your best friend is the innocence that you bestow upon the world, as it says here. You give that away. You give that to the world. And this becomes your function, you could say. But what do you do for it? Continuously forgive, like 70 times 7, or however that's mentioned in the Bible. Like you forgive continuously. In other words, you release your thoughts about everything that you're perceiving. You don't engage with those thoughts. You don't make a story up. You're not confirming any kind of conflict. But in fact, are inviting everyone in to release that, to let go of that, to see this in a different way. And see it with your heart, you could say. See that, yes, indeed, my brother is one with me. Like, why would I attack my brother? So that doesn't make any sense any longer. So then also, in my recognition of my innocence and my activity of mind of releasing ideas continuously, I in fact make it easy for myself in the sense of recognizing in everyone my best friend instead of competition or a comparison, or like the comparison could only be in body form. What not physical are you going to compare yourself with? So that's really interesting. See, in consciousness, recognizing that you're one consciousness, where are you going to compare yourself with if you recognize you're one with your brother? Okay, so this is the chapter, The War Against Myself. What is an interesting title. If you read this, it's like, what war are you talking about? Like, what war? Oops, I go the wrong way. The other way around? Yeah, here we are. So the memory of God. Oh yeah, I love this. The memory of God comes to the quiet mind. It cannot come where there is conflict. So that's great. The memory of God comes to the quiet mind, and it's happening right now, not tomorrow. It cannot come where there is conflict, for a mind at war against itself remembers not eternal gentleness. The means of war are not the means of peace, and what the warlike would remember is not love. War is impossible unless belief in victory is cherished. War is impossible unless the belief in victory is cherished. Conflict within you must imply that you believe the ego has the power to be victorious. Wow, that's an expression. Conflict within you must imply that you believe the ego has the power to be victorious. Why else would you identify with it? Like, if it would be a loser, why would you identify with a loser? You think it can win. Surely you realize the ego is at war with God. Certain it is, it has no enemy. Yet just as certain is its fixed belief it has an enemy that it must overcome and will succeed. So this is really something else. So the memory of God comes into the quiet mind. It cannot come where conflict is. So that is the defense of the ego mind, like your ego mind, the one that is comparing, competing, analyzing, and thinking in terms of bodies, like it uses the body as a retaining conflict attribute, you could say. So here it is like there is no conflict. There is no conflict, but you can make one up, and then you extend the idea of conflict. But what would that be, that conflict, if there's no comparison to be made? And this is obvious if you come from this way of looking at it. But in the ego mind, there's always, like, it doesn't want to resolve a conflict because it believes in differences. It needs differences to have a conflict. So it will literally try to make differences. It will always find a difference and use that against itself, because it's only at war with itself. Yeah, that's the insanity of it. Like, it's literally insanity that thinks those things. It's not reasonable. It is insanity that thinks those things. The war against yourself is but the battle of two illusions, struggling to make them different from each other, in the belief the one that conquers will be true. There's no conflict between them and the truth, nor are they different from each other. Both are not true, and so it matters not what form they take. What made them is insane, and they remain part of what made them. Madness holds out no menace to reality, and has no influence upon it. Illusions cannot triumph over truth, nor can they threaten it in any way. And the reality that they deny is not a part of them. Now, how does this translate into the human experience? The human experience would be like you're afraid to surrender to God, for instance, to have a full-blown experience of God communication. Why is that? Because you hold on to certain ideas about yourself. For instance, you think you're a body. You think that there are others that you are in relationship with, and you think that you don't want to give that up. So in fact, you make yourself believe that it is a sacrifice to give that up. Now, see, you can only see one thing at the time. Like, you either believe that that is your reality, then say you're justified. You're completely justified in the fact that you should leave something or let something go, and thinking that asks of you a sacrifice. Like, who doesn't feel it that way at a certain point in your awakening? You think that you have to make sacrifices, but that's only because of the way that you think about yourself, and it has no relationship with reality. Now that becomes more and more obvious. We come back to the same place. Okay, I go within, I meditate, I'm becoming so still, and my mind is quiet enough to have an experience of God communication. Suddenly I experience that there's no lack or limitation, that I'm literally needing nothing from this world. Like, everything is here. Like, oneness will give you the experience that everyone is with you, that you literally cannot lose anyone, since we're all here, you could say. They're all included. You, with your definition of yourself, in fact, formulate a conflict and believe in it. So until you see what you're actually doing, no healing can take place. Like, you literally hold on to an idea that something is going to be taken from you, not recognizing that what you hold on to is the illusion, is the sacrifice that you make against truth. So this is how you do that. Like, there is no conflict, but you literally make a conflict, and you continue to make it. So you're literally maintaining the conflict. Imagine that the conflict would stop, you would disappear in the love of God. Now that's a real threat. That's a real threat for a human mind, for an ego mind. That's a big threat. Imagine that you would disappear right now just like that. It's like, just by realizing who you truly are, completely out of here. Huh? What would you miss? Nothing. So are you in conflict with that? Are you resisting the idea? For what? Really? It's like, for what are you doing that? See, this is where we bump up against the belief system that you have fortified with defense and with like, oh, don't touch this. No, whatever you want, well, don't touch this. Stay away. So you have to separate yourself off and experience the consequences of that. You do all kinds of things for it, as you have seen yourself. Of course, that is dissolving now more and more and more and more, and it becomes more and more attractive to go and feel that completedness. Well, great. This is where the fork in the road is. So this all starts to make sense if you look at it this way. That's the beauty of it. Illusions meets illusions. Yeah? I can make up my separation. Like if I think I'm separate from reality, then I can make that up, and I will be in a situation that is an illusion itself, and yeah, encountering more of that illusory nature. You could say, like, when I choose for fear, I create situations that aren't real, but I can really be totally afraid of it and really think that there's something going on, like a good nightmare. And here's truth. Truth meets only itself. Like it only meets itself, it confirms itself, it's equal to every aspect of it. It only meets itself, the loveliness that it is. It meets it in every aspect of it. So the meeting of illusions leads to war. Peace, love, happiness, looking on itself, extends itself. War is the condition in which fear is born and grows and seeks to dominate. Right? You see that that's also an expansion. Like, here's fear born, here's a fearful idea, now it grows and it seeks to dominate my whole day. Suddenly I'm afraid of everything. Now it's such a chaos, I don't even know what to do anymore. And here's peace. Peace is the state where love abides and seeks to share itself. It looks for possibilities to extend itself. Conflict and peace are opposites. Where one abides, the other cannot be. Where either goes, the other disappears. So is the memory of God obscured in minds that have become illusion's battleground. Yet far beyond this senseless war, it shines, ready to be remembered when you side with peace. This is what we saw in chapter 19 too, right? The obstacles to peace, and in fact, beyond the obstacles of peace. Now, one of them was the body, valuing the body for what you think it is, using it as an active character to continue conflict. Salvation is no compromise of any kind. To compromise is to accept but part of what you want, to take a little and give up the rest. Salvation gives up nothing. It is complete for everyone. Let the idea of compromise but enter, and the awareness of salvation's purpose is lost because it is not recognized. It is denied where compromise has been accepted, for compromise is the belief salvation is impossible. It would maintain you can attack a little, love a little, and know the difference. This is what you try. If you would maintain you can attack a little, love a little, and know the difference. This is what you think you can do. Thus, it would teach a little of the same can still be different. And yet the same remain intact as one. Does this make sense? Can this be understood? No, it cannot. So it would maintain you can attack a little, love a little, like you can do all things at the same time and know the difference. You think you can distinguish between love and hate. And this is what you discover in your special relationship, like the love-hate relationship. not that love is really love. No, it is a deal that you make with your brother. Like, if you are nice to me, I'll be nice to you. That kind of start. I give you attention now, you have to give me attention too. I'll protect you and you protect me. You keep this lie with me and I keep that lie with you. Thus it would teach a little of the same can still be different and yet the same remain intact as one. Does this make sense? Can it be understood? No, it cannot be understood. And it doesn't make sense. Now here's the request. Be lifted up and from a higher place look down upon it on the battlefield. From there will your perspective be quite different. Here in the midst of it, it does seem real. Here you've chosen to be part of it. Here murder is your choice. Yet from above, the choice is miracles instead of murder. And the perspective coming from this choice shows you the battle is not real and can easily escaped. Bodies may battle, but the clash of forms is meaningless. And it is over when you realize it never was begun. How can a battle be perceived as nothingness when you engage in it? How can the truth of miracles be recognized if murder is your choice? Now that sounds pretty clear. That's wonderful. So it's either love or murder, miracles or murder. Now you don't see that right away in your relationships. You don't want, now you say, well, we can also be very loving. We can also be very loving. It's not murder, not really murder. It's like we can also be loving. We have saved that little part too, and we do it all. Like, yeah, it's working out in some kind of way. It works out. And it's like, well, you miss, in fact, because you're compromising, you make a deal with yourself, in fact. You make a deal to be illusory and try to imagine love. Something like this, which really doesn't work. Like love is a complete whole experience of equality, of connectedness, of communication. And if you experience that, great. But then also there's no differences to be seen. There are no differences to be seen, or there's no compromise to be made. So you stay at your peace. It's just like when you're in the battlefield, you know this very well. It's like when you're in the battlefield, you cannot really look at the situation at all. You think you can, and you discuss it. And it's the same as what we said in the beginning in 22. It's like, yeah, looking from your perspective, you're right. Looking from your brother's perspective, he's right. Now what? Like, it is an impossible situation, and you set it up to stay in conflict. That's what you have to see. Now, when you say helicopter above it, you see, what am I doing? Yes, he's right in what he says, or she's right in what she says. I'm right in what I say. Like, I'm convinced about that this is the best for me. And it doesn't come together. Now, what would I lose by letting it go, by letting my opinion go, by letting this go? If we do that both, then suddenly we recognize that we're each other's best friends and that we share a common source. That would be the solution. There is no other way out. Then the differences don't make sense. Then everything shifts and changes again and you find yourself in the same place. Oh yeah, this is the last one from chapter 23. Bodies may battle, but the clash of forms is meaningless. Like, can minds attack? No, minds cannot attack. If your mind is open, how can it attack? How can, if you recognize your mind to be whole, what can you possibly attack? It's literally, how would you do that? How would you do that? Attack with your mind. Try not to use your body and try to attack someone. I do it right. I try it now. I try it. It's like, you have no tools. So there's like, this is why you use the body for, to attack. You never thought of that like that way. That's interesting. So minds cannot attack. Minds can recognize they're one, and that's a very joyful experience. Okay, moving forward to chapter 24, and the goal of specialness. So since we got that wound right open, ripped open, we're going to like dissect a little bit and what actually is then, what are we doing there in the special relationship? Why is specialness so important? Why is differences so important for us? Why are we continuing, it's like in your human perspective, why are you continuing the conflict up to the last moment, in fact? Like, why do you have a problem with deciding which way to go? Why would that be a conflict? You think that the decision isn't made already? Like, you think that you want to hang out here in the place of conflict? And this is how you can say, like, a human being is addicted to conflict. It will look for it. Whether it says it is looking for peace, it is still, in fact, looking for conflict. And literally, when it stops looking for conflict, it isn't human anymore. It literally is the rebirth moment. And this is what you fear the most, because it's the end of you as you have defined yourself. So that's another conflict. But anyway, we'll go and read. I will not spill all the beans right away. So we're all specialists in specialness. We're specialists in being special. So this should be recognizable in a certain sense. Forget not that the motivation for this course in miracles is the attainment and the keeping of the state of peace. Given this state, the mind is quiet. Given this state, the mind is quiet, and the condition in which God is remembered is attained. Okay, so that, you recognize that state of peace, that's given, the mind is quiet, God is remembered, and there's an attainment happening. It is not necessary to tell him what to do. He will not fail. Where he can enter, where God can enter, he already is. And can it be he cannot enter where he wills to be? Can it be he cannot enter where he wills to be? No. Peace will be yours because it is his will. Can you believe a shadow can hold back the will that holds the universe secure? Can you believe that a shadow can hold back the will that holds the universe secure? God does not wait upon illusions to let him be himself, no more his son. They are. And what illusion that idly seems to drift between them has the power to defeat what is their will. It's like there's a universe out there. There's a universe out there. And this universe is like you're a whole part of that universe. Now you, in your doubt about yourself, think you can come in between about, say, that what holds the whole universe secure. You think that your little tantrum is going to change anything? In your dreams, you can do whatever you want, but you can imagine that that would be an illusion. It's like, there's a universe out there, and you're a whole part of it. And the universe is huge. Like, it's limitless. It is eternal. It is life creating itself. It's expanding forever in all directions at the same time. See how small then your idea about yourself seems to be? Like, oh my God, Can you imagine? Can you believe a shadow can hold back the will that holds the whole universe secure? God does not wait upon illusions to let him be himself, no more his son. They are. And what illusions that idly seem to drift between them has the power to defeat what is their will. It's like, yeah, indeed, that doesn't make any sense. What am I doing? What do I think I can do? That doesn't make sense. Now here, love is extension. To withhold the smallest gift is not to know love's purpose. Love offers everything forever. Love offers everything forever. Hold back but one belief, one offering, and love is gone, because you asked the substitute to take its place. And now must war, the substitute for peace, come with the one alternative that you can choose for love. Your choosing it has given it all the reality it seems to have. It's also not so easy to read, is it? So love is extension. To withhold the smallest gift is not to know love's purpose. That makes sense. Right? Why would you? Love is extension. Like, it doesn't hold back. It's full extension. It does not consider if it's going to give or not. No, it just gives. It doesn't think about it. It doesn't calculate. It doesn't procrastinate. It just is a yes in giving. Love offers everything forever. Now hold back but one belief, one offering, and love is gone. Because you asked a substitute to take its place. And this is what you do as a human being. It's like you start to compromise. You start to make a deal. You start to, like, it always wants something. It always needs something extra. It wants to be paid for its sacrifice, something like this. And now must war, the substitute for peace, come with the alternative that you can choose for love. Your choosing it has given it all the reality it seems to have. The substitute for peace. Now must war, the substitute for peace, come with the one alternative that you can choose for love, which is fear. Like you, this is the construct that you seem to be in as a human being. So you substitute for peace, you substitute for love, you make a deal, try to make a deal for love, with love. You try to make an agreement instead of extending without a limit. You're trying to make a deal with reality. And gone is peace, because you literally decided you want a conflict instead of extension. Specialness is the great dictator of the wrong decisions. Here's the grand illusion of what you are and what your brother is. And here is what you must make the body dear. And here is what must make the body dear and worth preserving. Specialness must be defended. Illusions can attack it, and they do. For what your brother must become to keep your specialness is an illusion. For what your brother must become to keep your specialness is an illusion. He who is worse than you must be attacked, so that your specialness can live on his defeat. For specialness is triumph, and its victory is his defeat and shame. How can he live with all your sins upon him? And who must be his conqueror but you? Like, you want to win as an ego. You do your best to get the best deal, so to speak. You make a deal with your brother, but you want to be the winner of the deal. You want to get out of it pretty good. So even if in the human comparison, for instance, that you are doing, it's like, okay, there are some things that are not good with me, but it's not as bad as my neighbor. I tell you about my neighbor. My neighbor this and blah, 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 blah. Like, no, I'm still a winner. I'm doing pretty good. Yeah, no, my family life is okay. Like, yeah, we have, of course, we have our conflicts, but at the same time, This is a normal human conversation. To just agree with that, to just recognize, like, yes, we're in conflict, but we have our conflicts, but yes, we're doing pretty good, and we can stay out of each other's hair pretty easily. And it's like, okay, you don't want to get used to that. You don't want to get used to that idea. It's like, that has nothing to do with love. It's an agreement that you make. So in other words, you're in an arena, and attack and defense is still like, yeah, that's absolutely required here, but also it's okay to do that. It's part of this. Yeah, of course you're gonna attack. Of course you need to defend yourself. Yes, you're not like wishy-washy. No, you stand for your opinions and you defend them, because that makes you an individual, a strong personality, or whatever, leadership, leadership tools and leadership characteristics. You want to be a winner. We all want to be winners, right? Now, you can only be a winner if there's also a loser. This is why you think like, well, as long as I'm not a loser, I'm doing pretty good. Now, in fact, with the Course in Miracles and with any kind of spiritual path that makes sense, it's just like, no, you will have to give that up. You will have to let go of your idea that there's a winner and a loser, that there's a difference between winner and loser, that there's a difference to be made in the first place. There are no differences. So it's like you share love's extension. It's not making exceptions. It's not looking for differences. No, it's recognizing a common source, equality. All right, the fear of God. See, another obstacle to peace, the fear of God and of your brothers, comes from each unrecognized belief in specialness. For you demand your brother bow to it against his will, and God himself must honor it or suffer vengeance. Every twinge of malice or stab of hate or wish to separate arises here. For here the purpose that you and your brother share becomes obscured from both of you. You would oppose this course because it teaches you and your brothers are alike, like your brother are alike. You have no purpose that is not the same, and none your father does not share with you. For your relationship has been made clean of special goals. You see, that is this one paragraph can be like a journey for 20 years for many of us. The fear of God and of your brother comes from each unrecognized belief in specialness. So are you willing to give up the ideas of the belief in specialness? For you demand your brother bow to it against his will. It's like this is maybe a great example of it. It's like possessiveness. It's like there's a possessiveness that is many times seen as love. So like you can only behave this way, then I'll stay with you. It's like you have to bow down to my ideas, my beliefs, and then you can stay with me. This is like an unwritten rule that you can have in a relationship, a dependency. God himself must honor it or suffer vengeance. Every twinge of malice or stab of hate or wish to separate arises here. See, the wish to separate becomes more and more obvious, because it's like you agreed to this commitment, you agreed to this deal that you made with your brother, but it doesn't stop you from raising the vengeance against him. Like it can build up and build up and build up in some years and suddenly burst out in an incredible explosion of attack. So here the purpose that you and your brother share becomes obscured. It's like you have no other goal than to recognize your common goal and your common purpose, and recognize that there is no differences to be seen. That is why you're together. It's like every relationship is in fact based on the fact to discover that. Now you have used it differently and God is out of the door, you could say, in your relationship. No, it is has become a construct of tension and conflict. And it cannot be on the surface all the time, but it will be like cooking a little bit underneath of that. Forgiveness, we know this now, like forgiveness is the end of specialness, because you give up the idea of differences. Only illusions can be forgiven, and then they disappear. Forgiveness is the release from all illusions, and that is why it is impossible, but partially, to forgive. No one who clings to one illusion can see himself as sinless, for he holds one error to himself as lovely still, and so he calls it unforgivable and makes it sin. How can he then give his forgiveness wholly, when he would not receive it for himself? For it is sure he would receive it wholly the instant that he gave it so, and thus his secret guilt would disappear, forgiven by himself. Yeah, this is like the special place that you treasure, with like a little box inside yourself called unforgivable. You carry it with you, and it rots and stinks, and it's basically preventing you from having a good God experience. Because literally, like, this is more important than anything else. I'm gonna keep this secret. It's unforgivable, and I will defend that. So that's my little secret here. So this is why, in fact, I always invite anyone. It's like, share your deepest secret. There's something there, that might be something there that you keep to yourself, that is like unforgivable, that you hold on to because it is unforgivable, and you might have lost it over as a gift of who knows what. But you will start to recognize, like in your awakening, you will start to recognize that you cannot live with it. It's literally preventing you from having a full-blown God experience. And that becomes more attractive than holding on to your secret. But see, a human being, human ego mind wants victory. It wants to not admit to it, because then it's a loser. As if, yeah, literally, when you would admit to it, it would be the end of you. A good experience of forgiveness basically is an awakening. Like, it gives you a shift on all fronts of your awareness. So that's so great about it, but it's also, you feel that as a pressure of, well, I'm holding on to this, but it becomes more and more separate and more lonely and more like impossible to hold on any longer. And then it becomes easier to let go of it, but it's inevitable that you're going to, because it is not natural to keep something to yourself that is unforgivable and let that stand like a wall between you and your brother. And this is not always that clear for you, because you have tried to deal with it. You have to try to reason it with yourself. And maybe you have looked at it 1,000 times, and now you don't want to look at it again. You just take it as a fact. So that prevents you from having a full experience of love and connection. And you think that's worth it. Forgiveness is the end of specialness. Only illusions can be forgiven, and then they disappear. See, it's an illusion you're holding on to. If something is unforgivable, that means that it is bigger than the hand that holds the whole universe. Like, it is more power than the whole universe to keep that together. Rejoice. You have no eyes with which to see, no ears to listen, and no hands to hold, nor feet to guide. This is the loveliness from chapter 24. Here it comes, like, rejoice. You have no eyes with which to see, no ears to listen, no hands to hold, nor feet to guide. So what are you with your unforgiving situation? How do you see your unforgiving situation? You probably have an image of it. You probably hear still the voice of the one that you need to forgive. You still feel completely lost, like you're lost in the universe. But rejoice. Like, this makes it easier. Rejoice, you have no eyes. Like, what you have perceived is not a reality. It was just a temporary reflection of what you were thinking. And it's crazy. It doesn't make any sense. No ears to listen, no hands to hold, or no feet to guide. Be glad that only Christ can lend you his while you have need of them. They are illusions too, as much as yours. And yet, because they serve a different purpose, the strength their purpose holds is given them. And what they see and hear and hold and lead is given light, that you may lead as you were led. See, this is your invitation to demonstrate this. So you're going to come in touch with your innocence. Now this innocence becomes a guiding light for your brothers. Nothing is lost to you in all the universe. Nothing that God created has he failed to lay before you lovingly as yours forever. And no thought within his mind is absent from your own. It is his will you share his love for you. And look upon yourself as lovingly and as he conceived of you before the world began, and as he knows you still. God changes not his mind about his Son with passing circumstance, which has no meaning in eternity, where he abides, and you with him. Your brother is as he created him, and it is this that saves you from a world that he created not. No, so this is more information. Nothing is lost to you in all the universe. Nothing that God created has he failed to lay before you lovingly as yours forever. And no thought within his mind is absent from your own. It is his will you share his love for you, and look upon yourself as lovingly as he conceived of you before the world began, and as he knows you still. He didn't change his mind about you. Are you kidding? The best test of everything on earth is simply this: what is it for? The answer makes it what it is for you. It has no meaning of itself, yet you can give reality to it according to the purpose that you serve. Here you are but means along with it. God is a means as well as an end. In heaven, means and end are one, and one with him. This is the true state of creation. This is the state of true creation, found not within time, but in eternity. To no one here is this describable, nor is there any way to learn what this condition means. Not till you go past learning to the given, not till you make again a holy home for your creations, is it understood. Yeah, so this is in fact the question you ask yourself on this earth. Like, what is it for? Why am I doing this? Why do I want this? What is it for? And the answer makes it what it is for you. In fact, you're looking for what meaning does it have for you. If it has meaning, you go for it. You recognize it as valuable to you. If it has no meaning, it literally disappears. This is the state of true creation, not found within time. That's what we're talking. Like what we're talking about here is beyond this test of everything on earth. This is beyond what you thought had meaning, but where you recognize the meaninglessness of. Now you come into a different sphere, you could say. God is a means and an end as well. In heaven, means and end are one, and one with him. This is the state of true creation, and that is not found in time, but in eternity. To no one here is it describable, nor is there any way to learn what this condition means. Not till you go past learning to the given, not till you make again a holy home for your creations, is it understood. That's literally like you cannot teach love, you cannot teach happiness, you cannot teach joy or peace. Like that's not teachable. It is what you are. So it's no longer something that you have, but you recognize it as something that you are. This course can be summed up very simply this way. Nothing real can be threatened and nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. This is in fact chapter 24, so we took parts out of it and put it together in a certain sense as, well, this is like any part, basically any part that you take out of it as a paragraph, as a sentence, holds all of it, like holds the whole meaning of it. There are no separate parts in that either. And that's really becomes really obvious if you literally stand still with the sentences that are given. So they give you the same as with the lessons, they give you an insight of totality. And that is sufficient, like it's all part of totality. Now this is like a fractal, it's like you zoom in on a fractal and you see the same fractal again, and you zoom in on a detail and you zoom deeper, and you still have the same object. And this is of course visually, but you can imagine with the eternal aspect of you that works the same way. It's like no matter if you take, it cannot be separated. You take a part of it and it literally consists of the whole. You cannot separate it. Okay, so that was the goal of specialness. We went through 3 chapters. I'm really happy that I did that with you, and thank you so much for your attention today. It's great to, in fact, to be exposed to this light, because that's literally what is occurring. So that's a great exposure. Like, wow, thank you so much for your perseverance to do this and to listen to it, to be activated by it, and to look for more, in fact. That's so great. So thank you so much for your part in it. And I hope to see you maybe in 2 weeks, because next week there will be no meeting. But yes, we continue this with the next chapters. Thank you, and bye for now. Thank you so much.